Hey, what's up, Vox and Hops heads? I'm Matt, the vocalist of Cryptopsy, and you're listening to my podcast, Vox and Hops, where I normally sit down with fellow metal musicians to talk about their lives, music, and craft beer. But this is another Vox and Hops Metal Brewer Talks, where I sit down with metal brewers and we talk about their lives, their love of metal music, and how they got into brewing craft beer. I hope you guys had a great weekend. I had an excellent weekend. It's always nice to sit back, relax, and hibernate when it is cold and dreary like it is up here in Montreal, Canada right now. Winter is upon us, and that is stout season, so it's super good to sit back, curl up on your couch with an epic dark beer, a delicious stout or a porter, and as I always say, when in doubt, one more stout, and that is how I get through these winter months. Speaking of when in doubt, one more stout, I just closed up the pre-orders for that shirt. I have placed the order, and they're in the process of being printed right now, and I'm going to start shipping them off, hopefully, at the end of next week. A huge thank you to any of you Vox and Hops heads who picked up a when in doubt, one more stout Vox and Hops shirt. I'm super stoked. Can't wait to see all of you beautiful people wearing them. So I just want to say a huge thank you. Devastation on the Nation 2020 is coming up soon. This year's lineup features Rotting Christ, Borknagar, Wolfheart, Abigail Williams, and Imperial Triumphant. Some of these shows have already sold out, and I can guarantee you that more of them will sell out. So if you want to come to Devastation on the Nation 2020, you better pick up your tickets soon. You can do that via the link in the description of this podcast, or you can simply go to www.metalfestivaltours.com. Devastation on the Nation 2020 is proudly brought to you by Continental Concerts USA, Metal Festival Tours, and yours truly, the Vox&Hops Podcast. Today on Vox&Hops Metal Brewer Talks, I am with Logan Williams, the cellar man from Gilgamesh Brewing.
I warn you, what you are about to hear is very disturbing indeed.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Today I'm with Logan Williams, one of the brewers from Gilgamesh Brewing from Salem, Oregon. And I'm super stoked to be talking to you. I received a whole bunch of great Gilgamesh brews, and I'm super stoked to share one of these with you.
Yeah, man, it's a pleasure.
Yeah, welcome to Vox and Hops Metal Brewer Talks. Let's start at the beginning, like I always like to do with my brewers. Let's have your brew story. How did you end up becoming a craft beer brewer?
I'm actually a cellarman, working my way up into the brew deck as of now. Kind of that's the starting basis. So cellarman, what we do is we clean and prep the tanks, get them ready for fermentation or turning them into bright tanks. We also handle the beer in its fermentation stage, make sure nothing's going wrong. We're in charge of dry hopping, transferring the beer into bright mode through our centrifuge process. And so, yeah, we pretty much just cradle that baby.
It's the best. You're there when the yeast is doing all of its beautiful work.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is very interesting. How did you get started into this? Why brewing beer? What was that? What was the reason?
So I actually had the great opportunity from a friend of mine who used to be an employee at Gilgamesh. I had been cooking for several years now, and the kitchen lifestyle just kind of wore me out. Got mentally and physically exhausted of just cooking for people that I didn't really know or had no pleasure in wanting to know, really, and it just was exhausting. So I always loved craft beer, and my friend, she offered me the job there and pretty much started at the bottom and get my head down and work my way up, you know.
Which is a good story that everyone should pay attention to. Nothing happens without hard work.
It's true.
And dedication. Tell me a little bit about Gilgamesh. Tell me about the craft beer scene in Salem, Oregon.
So Gilgamesh started 9 years ago from the family called the Ratkes. There's three brothers and a dad. It's Mike, Nick, Matt, and their dad Lee. They started it out on their barn in Turner, Oregon, about 10 years ago, and pretty much just slowly built up. They bought the campus, which is where our main brewery is at now, and then just this last year they actually bought a tap house out on the west side of Salem, like across the river. And yeah, the craft scene out here is pretty poppin'. I think we are the biggest one as far as craft brewing goes out in Salem. Of course, and Oregon's a fairly decent sized state, and there's craft beer all around Oregon. But as far as Salem goes, we're kind of the biggest ones. But there's at least several good handful ones out here.
Who would be some of those big heavy hitters that when you started drinking craft beer were the ones that really pulled you in?
Well, locally, there's like Ninkasi. They're just down 30 minutes south of me in Eugene. Deschutes Brewery. They got the Black Butte Porter, which is definitely a favorite of mine. Ninkasi, Deschutes, Sierra Nevada also is really good. Just kind of
absolutely an excellent gateway craft beer right there, Sierra Nevada. You can't go wrong with that.
Yeah, definitely.
Anytime I play, I remember when I was playing in Oregon alongside Cannibal Corpse and Obituary. We were in Portland and we went to this. There's a grocery store called Fred's or
Fred Meyer.
Exactly. And I walked in there and I was like, oh my God, look at this craft beer fridge.
Yeah.
And that's when I think I had my first Deschutes freshly squeezed IPA.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Which is pretty good. It's pretty good. So I always had a fondness for Portland beers. So let's see what this one is. This is the one that you chose for us to share. It is, from just reading the label, it seems like a very, very complex beer. Tell me about this beer that we're about to share.
So this is a collab that we did with a restaurant called the Multnomah Whiskey Library. They're based out of Portland. So what we did was we did a red ale and we barrel aged it in, I believe, rye and bourbon barrels for about 5.5 to 6 months. And then at the end, after we transferred it out of the barrels, we pitched bitters and aromatics as you would a old-fashioned. So it gives you off the flavor of an old-fashioned.
I have never seen a beer like this or heard of a beer like this. It is completely different from the other beers that came with this package.
Yeah.
And I was very happy when you chose this one. I typically don't put my stouts in the fridge or high percentage beers because I liked the room temperature flavors. The notes come out a bit more.
Okay.
And as I was dealing with this one, I was like, do I put it in the fridge? It's not very high in it. And it's got like a 6.6 ABV. Mm-hmm. And the more that I read it, the more I was like, no, I'm going to keep it room temperature. I think that the barrel aged part of it really deserves to be a bit more room temperature.
Okay. I've as of recently I've drinking it off a tap and I kind of prefer it more that way. I do understand the stout part, but yeah, to each their own.
Cheers.
Cheers.
That was cool. Very cool. Very cool. The booziness of it is very subtle. The bitters you can taste a bit more, which is very interesting. Really enjoy it. It's got like a nice reddish color. It's just about translucent, but not quite. Almost quite opaque. It's got a nice little head on it.
Yeah.
The nose smells sweet. Just slightly boozy, but not very much whatsoever.
Yeah.
Very interesting. I love it.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Absolutely love it. Yeah. Let's talk about metal.
Hell yeah.
Because Vox&Hops has a lot to do with craft beer and metal. You hit me up because you play in a band. You play in a band called Abiosis.
Yep.
And you guys have released an album called Revelations of Macabre.
Yep.
Let's talk about that. How I always like talking to my metal brewers or metal cellarmen in your case and see why is there such a connection between craft beer and metal. Why does it work so well together?
That's kind of just the whole image getting into it at a very young age. It's just like, I started going to death metal shows at the age of 15. I think my first show was like a Suffocation show. I was underage, but it was at a local dive bar down the road from my house, and just like everyone was partying, having a great time, and I was like, oh, that's cool. Like, why I drink beer, I don't know, other than the fact that I love it, and why I play death metal, other than the fact that I love it. Like, I don't really know,
Take me back to that first beer.
That first beer was gross. It was a Mickey's. Do you guys got Mickey's malt liquor up there?
We have different versions of it, but yes.
Yes, it was a malt liquor. It was the young and stupid days.
When you had a good time with your friends.
Yeah.
Drinking too many of them.
Yeah, at the skate park, right before shows, whatever it was.
Where do you think the craft beer scene is going next? I know that the haze craze is just totally taken over. You guys have a hazy that came out.
Yeah.
That you guys brewed up there.
definitely.
which was a little bit less hazy than what's going on the East Coast, but still very drinkable, delicious, and crisp. What do you think is going on next? I really think this is interesting, this old-fashioned barrel-aged red ale with bitters and aromatics.
So I think next big thing, I don't know. I've already seen a couple of these pop up here and there, and I have buddies at different breweries who have asked me about like old-fashioned beers and what they're doing. So maybe these will be popping up here and there. I'm a really big stout guy, so I'm always looking into stouts and different stout recipes, and those are just like wild and endless, and that's kind of my forte to study on.
Has there been a point where you've done some home brewing?
Yeah, it was actually really cool because I got married in July, and we made a homebrew here, me and my homegirl, and they let us finish the homebrew there, and we got to serve the beer at the wedding, and that was pretty cool.
That's so cool. Talk me through that style of beer, and congratulations on your marriage.
Oh, thanks, man. That was a Bavarian black lager. So it was a Schwartz beer. And
how do you get it smoked? Is it something you have to do, or you buy the malts and they're smoked?
The grain already came smoked.
Okay.
Yeah, so I used pretty much everything Bavarian, like as far as the yeast goes and as far as the grain went. The grain was a Bavarian Carapils, I want to say. And so, yeah, it was already kind of smoked and chocolatey and whatnot, but because it's kind of a lager, it was heavy, but not heavy,
Well, it's smooth that it probably hit like under like a 5-6 ABV.
Yeah, it was probably around like 5.4.
Which is perfect for a wedding.
Yeah.
You don't want people crawling around.
Right.
Definitely not at the beginning, so.
Yeah.
If you could, when you do work and you're cleaning out and you're taking care of the fermenting beauties, do you get to listen to some metal music?
Oh, yeah, dude. Oh, yeah.
What would be your Cellarman's soundtrack?
So I got to kind of take it easy because there's certain bands that I listen to that play samples that are obviously like pretty fucked up, and like I can't play a whole Gorgasm album and expect everyone to be super happy with it, but I'll usually throw in like some old school stuff like Bolt Thrower, or like even like be blaring some Sabbath throughout the brewery. But like everyone knows when I'm working there because there'll be death metal going on. They'll just be like, he's either in a great mood or a pissed off mood. Either way, like he's in there.
Either way, it's going to make us feel better in the end, right?
Yeah.
Has there been instances where you have played stuff and your coworkers have asked you to turn it off?
Yeah.
Okay, and what bands would those be, and what?
Bands like Gorgasm. I think I tried to play actually some shit from Blasphemy Made Flesh one time, and like my head brewery comes up. It was really funny because all he did was just like change the station, but he like put on Steel Panther instead, and I was like, all right, well that's that's a reasonable change. That's funny.
It's just as extreme, but in a different direction.
Right. Yeah.
I was going to ask you if you have to like share the music, the soundtrack of the brewing with other people, and how contrast it is. But from Steel Panther to Cryptopsy is not so much of a jump, but are there other brewers that are like listening to some hip hop or what? Let's hear about that.
Yeah, we're all pretty versatile as far as like music goes. Like we all listen to hip hop also. Like we're big old school hip hop fans, but a lot of us are like old school metal fans like Metallica, Megadeth, Dio, Black Sabbath. I think our most played station is like old school traditional metal. Judas Priest plays a lot through there, a lot of Ozzy Osbourne and all that.
They're classics for a reason, right?
Yeah, it's a metal welcome brewery for sure. You're not going to get kicked out for playing what you want to play.
I always correlate beer and metal together because that's just how I am there, but there's something about the classics that just always stay good and always come back, and I think that's true both in metal and in craft beer.
Yeah.
As you're saying, this old fashioned is coming back. You see the return of lagers happening, a lot more lagers popping up, the way that, Judas Priest is just always going to be fucking good.
Yeah.
Whether it's, 20 years ago, today, or in 20 years, it's still going to be regarded as a classic.
Yeah.
I'm not certain that some of these beer styles that are coming out now are going to be classics in 20 years. I don't know.
For sure. I think maybe the IPA will run its course in that time. I'm not the biggest IPA kind of guy. I feel like after I've had one or two, they all start to kind of blend together in taste as far as that goes. And up here in the Northwest, they've been around for a while, and I don't see them getting much more popular than they already are, kind of, you know?
It's almost at the point with some brewers that they're fed up of making IPAs. They want to do something else. They want to do something interesting for their interests, but they sort of still have to put out these hazy IPAs just to get the money, because people are going to buy them up so that they can fund their future things, which is something different than a band. A band's not going to go out and make a pop album or like a more commercial viable song so that they can go make their experimental one.
Yeah.
No, but actors do that. So you think about these actors that like to do these art house films. They'll go do the big blockbuster so that they can fund their little art house flick on the side. So it's almost like that, which is what a brewer has to do now.
Right.
Fuel the hazy IPA fiends so that they can make their old fashions.
Yes.
Barrel-aged red ales with bitters and aromatics.
Yes, make those.
Has Gilgamesh ever made a collab beer for a band?
No, but that's something I want to work with my own band and my own coworkers. Like, I don't see that being a problem at all, but something the owners got to approve on and something the higher ups got to approve on. But I feel like if Abiosis were going to do a beer, it'd probably be like a porter of some sort, because that's just kind of what we all draw to as porters, me and all the other guys in the band and whatnot.
What would be some of the limitations, and why would a brewery not want to do a collaboration with a band?
That's a question I don't have the answer for, man. Because
in my mind, they have to make beer anyways to sell in their tap room. So those ones right away should be easy to have a bit more freedom and experimentation, because you're not canning it, you're not throwing it in a bottle. It's not a huge commitment. It's just a trial run, and if it goes well, then maybe you can step it forward there.
Yeah, I mean, there is talk right now of us doing small batch stuff, so hopefully the day comes where we get to do stuff for, my band and any local artists that want to collab with us. That'd be cool.
So this porter, what would it be called?
Straight to hell. No, I don't know. I don't know. Probably
porter to hell.
Probably something based off of our songs or something like that,
Aside from your own band, if you could brew a beer for one of your favorite bands, what band would that be? What style would it be? And what would its name be?
Does Creator already have a beer?
They might, but they can have 2 or 3 or 4. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, man. I'd probably do like a red ale for Creator.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be pretty fun.
The classic band needs a classic style beer for sure.
Yeah, dude.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Take me deeper into a day at work. You are the person that cleans up after the brewers. Is the brewery just so big, and you have such a big volume that you need a cellarman? Why can't they clean up their own mess?
No, it's not that they can't clean up their own mess. Like, pretty much every brewer is a cellarman, and every cellarman will start to brew.
Okay.
We have, let's see, trying to count off the top of my head how much of a barrel system we are. 60, 90. We're about a 200 barrel bright system there now. Our biggest tank is a 60 barrel tank.
Holy shit. Okay.
Yeah. As of right now, it's kind of slower season, so we're not filling that bad boy up all the time. Except for right now, it's actually pretty full. It's got 50 barrels in it, which we're packing off tomorrow. But no, so we all just kind of work together, and like every brewer, they know how to clean tanks as much as we do. They know about the fermentation process as much as we do. We follow a strict live schedule because we're dealing with live product and live fermentation. Mm-hmm. And so we're all on the same track of what's happening in what tank and where beer is supposed to go if anything wrong has happened and whatnot.
That's an excellent jump point right there. What is the worst mistake you've made in the brewery, or you've witnessed?
Damn. I mean, everyone takes their occasional beer showers, you know?
Yes, of course. Yeah. You hope it's a style you like. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I haven't had anything too significant happen, except for maybe some electricity things happening one time.
Really?
That wasn't super fun. Yeah, plugging in a pump to clean a tank, and the prong was wet, which I hadn't noticed.
Everything's wet in the brewery. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Thought it was dead for about 30 seconds. And...
Really? Were you on the floor out?
No. I was just like in shock. Like, I surprisingly wasn't on the floor now, but yeah, it was a pretty scary moment.
Holy shit.
My boss comes around. Yeah, he comes around the corner and smells all the fucking electrical burns. He's like looking at me, and I'm just like kind of in shock right there. He's like, what happened? I was like, we go sit down for a second and think about this, you know, but we do monthly safety meetings and all that, so that shit happens less and less, and everyone's like aware. Like, situational awareness is a big thing at our work, you know. You're working with compressed vessels and just dangerous stuff around you, chemicals and what.
The caustic too, which you guys use to clean a let's talk through that. A lot of people probably don't know that, but to clean these tanks and the fermentation vessels, you guys got to use basically what it is. It's almost an acid. Right?
Yeah. So caustic is like if soap could burn, and it does. Like, getting that on your skin, it just pretty much eats it away. And I actually had a small burn of peracetic acid on my wrist today, and that wasn't too fun. But so the cleaning cycle, we do a hot rinse. We'll open up everything. We'll make sure everything has proper ventilation so it doesn't vacuum into the tanks. And then we'll do a hot rinse with caustic. We'll let that cycle through. We'll drain it. And then we'll do our peracetic acid at a food safe level. And we'll rinse it out with that. Through our head pressure, bleed everything out, and purge the tank. So no oxygen is going in. Because
when there's oxygen, there's bacteria.
Yep.
Crazy.
Yep, and that just destroys everything.
Destroy everything. But
Yeah.
Being with other people, brewers, a lot of people that I've spoken with, the main reason they started brewing is because they love drinking beer.
Yeah.
A lot of them don't drink beer while they're working. This would be one of the main reasons, because there's a lot of dangerous shit going on.
Yeah. If you're getting hammered on the job, or even if you have like too many sips or whatever, like your focus goes off. You get a little too relaxed at your job, like your focus goes off. That's when kind of wrong shit happens, you know? So yeah, we stay away from doing that. Like, we'll sample taste right before we package, make sure carbonation's good, then we'll just dump it, you know? It's whatever. It's just a small little sample.
Has there been an instance when you've been around that the batch wasn't quite right and it was tainted and they've had to dump the whole batch?
Yes and no. I feel like those situations kind of got fixed. There sometimes is carbonation issues where if you leave... So our goal to leave carbonation head pressure on a tank while it's in bright is about 10 to 12 psi. If you go more than 12, that's when the carbonation starts to ruin it, and you get too high of carbonation, and so packaging is nearly impossible because all you're getting
is just a foamy mess.
Yeah, you're just getting foam breakout and wasting product and labor hours, you know.
Like when I've bought some beers and I feel like they've had carbonation, it's like when you crack it open and it just foams forever.
Yeah, that could be it. That could also be a stage of oxidization that has happened. But yeah, I mean, those issues are kind of a pain in the ass, but they're fixable. But it kind of also gets rid of a lot of the aromas that you want, like, and so we've had some instances like that. This was over a year ago now. We had a double dry hop incident happen completely by accident.
I like that name. The double dry hop incident.
This was to a beer that was already a double IPA. And so the double dry hop just kind of overkilled it.
So it went into the wrong batch. Is that basically what happened?
No. So our marking system on our board, it wasn't updated.
Got it, yeah.
I believe was the issue. And so the person who dry hopped that day didn't notice that it had already been dry hopped prior before.
Got it.
So dry hopped a double IPA 2 times, and I think the way that got fixed is we just blended it with a regular non-dry hop version of what this was, and then that blend kind of fixed it out. But either way, that was a thick boy. Yeah.
A bitter, juicy mess.
Yeah, that was a while ago, and so sorry if anyone got that batch.
What does Abiosis have coming up next?
Yeah, so we're hammering out our sophomore album right now. We're shooting for about 8 or 9 tracks. So we're just working on new tunes, getting it all dialed in, and then sending it out there, seeing what happens, you know?
So you guys, as of right now, you're an independent band.
Yes.
Excellent. So for everyone listening at home, we are going to play you a track.
Yeah.
This is the first time Vox&Hops has ever had music on it. So this is a special moment.
Oh, yeah, man. Appreciate it.
So everyone right here, I'm going to ring you guys out. I want to say thank you to Logan right now. Thank you to Gilgamesh Brewing for having great beers and letting me share them with Logan.
Cheers, man.
So right now, this is Angelic Despoilment from Abiosis.
Cheers, dude.
And she said, "Oh, I suppose you're going to want to sit up all night and talk now." Shit. I looked at her, I said, "No." I said, "Good night." And I knew I was going to kill her. I cut off her head, and I humiliated her corpse.
Thank you all so much for listening right to the end. That's it. That's the first time. The first time there's ever been a song on Vox and Hops. It took me 100 episodes to get someone to let me put a song on it. How did you guys enjoy that? Tell me about it. Is it something you want more of? Do you want me to play some more music on the podcast? Let me know in the comments. Send me a message. I'm always interested if you want your music to be featured on Vox and Hops. If you're an unsigned band, an unsigned artist, and you have something that you'd like to premiere on Vox and Hops, shoot me an email to matt@voxandhops.com. That's matt@voxandhops.com. And we'll see what we can do. I'm still on the hunt for more metal brewers. Metal brewers are people that like metal music and brew craft beer. Are you a metal brewer? Do you know a metal brewer? If you do, please send them my way because I want to talk to them. As I mentioned during the outro of episode 100, I have some cool stuff in the works. Things that have to do with craft beer, Devastation on the Nation, and a party. I can't announce it just yet. I'm super stoked, working behind the scenes really hard to get this rolling. Just throwing that out there again, tickling your fancies once again. Craft beer, Devastation on the Nation, party. Let me know what you think. I hope you have a great rest of the week, and remember to enjoy life, metal, and craft beer. Cheers, Vox and Hops heads.